inch by inch, row by row, gonna make this garden grow, gonna mulch it deep and low.
Welcome back. Thanks for joining us. We're here in the greenhouse again, and the last time we were in here, we were talking with Lindsay about the plants growing on the top and on the bottom, and we potted them up so they could have some more space. But now that they're in these larger pots, we want to know, what's the next step? Where do they go now?
Yeah, so our options are when they're getting too big for their little pots, we pot them up. When they get too big for their later pots, we're going to go from here, we're going to transplant them into the ground. Now these are in their sort of final pots that we've potted them up into. Some of these are going to go to people's home gardens where they're going to take them home and plant them and take care of them. And a lot of them are going to get planted into the field on our farm. For me to feel ready to put these plants into the ground, plant them into the ground, there's just a few things that need to happen. I want to make sure that the soil is fertile. I want to make sure that the spot we are planting into is weed-free. And I want to make sure that the soil is relatively loose to at least 6 inches of depth. We're going to carefully sort of encourage these out of their pots. We're just going to kind of wiggle the pot off of there. This is close to a perfect root ball development for me. And then depending on what the root ball looks like, if it's totally encircled with roots, that would be called, it would be a little bit root bound in the pot. And you'd want to just sort of like break it up just a little bit to encourage new root hair development when you put it in. If it's not totally covered in roots, then it can go into the ground right like that. You want to make sure your hole is deep enough to place that whole soil plug down into the ground. And you're basically just going to tamp it in really firmly, and you want to cover the whole top of the soil block. Whenever you do put stuff in, you soak it in really well. That's probably the most important thing. The looser your soil is, the deeper the better. Always when you transplant things, there is some potential for the plants to exhibit a bit of what we call transplant shock. And so what you'll see sometimes is the plants might get a little discolored, they'll start turning a little bit yellow, or they'll start purpling some in the stems, and they don't look particularly healthy, or they don't look as healthy as when you put them in. That would be referred to as transplant shock. There are some things that we can do to alleviate that. One is planting in the right conditions. If you have a hot, sunny, windy day, that is not good conditions for putting plants in. Basically, the roots of these plants would prefer to never see open air and sunlight. So that's just something to keep in consideration. When you start pulling them out of the pots, the best thing to do is to go directly from the pot and into the ground, rather than leaving them in the sun and wind for any period of time. We also give the plants a Transplant Drench when we're putting them in. So this is just giving them a blast of really good nutrition that's going to boost their health. Just the same way as you might take vitamins, minerals, that sort of thing, supplements, so that when we're putting them into the ground, we know that they're just like, their immunity is at its height, hopefully, and their vitality is just really ready to power through this new transition.
We can help the plants find equilibrium by providing for their nutrition. And our stewardship really does make a difference. Thanks for joining us, and join us again.